All right, so today we're going to be cracking open a couple of medical reports, a urinalysis, and a three-part parasitological exam. You ready to play medical detective?
Always. It's amazing what these tests can reveal about someone's health. Like solving a puzzle, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the best part is, our subject is a real person, Hilario Reyes Miguel, 47 years old. So first up, let's take a peek at his urinalysis. I got to say, one thing jumped out at me right away. It says here, filamento mucoid. Basically like strands of mucus showing up at a level that shouldn't be there. What's the deal with that? Should we be worried?
Well, you see, while a little bit of mucus in the urine is totally normal, this elevated level could be a sign. It could be a sign of some inflammation going on, maybe in Hilario's urinary tract. It's like his body's sending us a little signal, saying, hey, something might be up here.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's this too. The report also mentions slightly elevated leukocytes, which, if I remember correctly, those are white blood cells, right?
Yeah.
The infection fighters.
Bingo! And yeah, finding them in the urine definitely adds to the whole inflammation theory. Like, think of it this way. Those white blood cells, they're rushing to the scene, ready to tackle whatever's causing the irritation.
Okay, so we've got this potential inflammation thing going on. But in fairness to Hilario, most of his urinalysis looks pretty normal. No signs of glucose or protein or blood, so that's got to be a good sign, right?
Absolutely. Always got to look at the whole picture. Yeah, the urinalysis alone isn't raising any major red flags. But this finding, it definitely makes you think. Makes us want to dig a little deeper. Which brings us to our next piece of the puzzle, the parasitological report.
Time to dive into the world of stool samples. Not the most glamorous topic I know, but hey, it's all part of the medical mystery, right?
Indeed. This three-part exam, it analyzes samples taken over 3 separate days, so we can get a really good look at what might be living in Hilario's digestive system.
And guess what? All 3 samples, they came back positive for a parasite called Blastocystis hominis. So break it down for us. What is this little critter, and should we be freaking out?
So Blastocystis hominis, it's a single-celled parasite, lives in the large intestine. And here's the thing. It's surprisingly common. Like, studies estimate that over 1 billion people worldwide have it.
1 billion. Wow. That's like this parasite is throwing a global party in our guts. But if it's so common, is it even really a problem?
Well, that's the thing. This parasite is a bit of an enigma. For lots of people, it causes absolutely no symptoms. They don't even know it's there.
Oh, so like it's just kind of hanging out in your gut rent-free.
Pretty much. But for others, it can cause a whole bunch of not-so-fun digestive issues, like diarrhea, bloating, gas, abdominal pain, you name it.
Okay, so it's a bit of a gamble, I guess. You could get lucky and have a peaceful coexistence, or you could end up with a gut-wrenching battle. But there's one thing that's still bugging me. We saw that potential inflammation in Hilario's urine, and now we've got this parasite. Could they be related?
Now that is a great question, and it's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting. While we can't say for sure without more information, it's definitely possible. You see, some parasites, including Blastocystis hominis, have been known to trigger inflammation in the body.
Hold on, wait a minute. Are you saying this tiny little parasite could be setting off a chain reaction? Like maybe explaining those mucus strands we saw in the urinalysis?
It's a possibility. Think about it. The parasite sets up shop in Hilario's gut, causes a little local inflammation, but the body, being the incredible machine it is, it tries to fight back. And sometimes that inflammatory response, well, it can kind of spill over into other areas, like the urinary tract.
Wow, that is wild. It's like a microscopic domino effect, but I guess we'd need more information to connect those dots for sure.
Right, exactly. Remember, we're just medical detectives here, piecing together clues. We'd need more details about Hilario's overall health, any symptoms he's experiencing, the whole picture, to really determine if there's a true link there.
All right, so we've got some pretty intriguing leads here, but the mystery continues. What happens next?
Well, now that we know about this parasite, this common but sometimes troublesome parasite, we've got to explore. We've got to explore potential treatments, right? And understand how it all plays into human health.
Sounds like we're just getting started. So last time we were talking about Hilario and how he's got this parasite, this Blastocystis hominis, just hanging out in his gut. The question is, what happens now? Like, can he do anything about it?
Well, the thing is, we don't actually know if it's causing him any problems, right? Remember, it can be totally asymptomatic in a lot of people. It's like having a little stowaway that's perfectly happy just hitching a ride.
Right, of course. We're just going off the information from the reports. But let's just say, hypothetically, Hilario IS having some, I don't know, digestive issues.
Yeah.
What are his options then? Can you just, evict this uninvited guest?
Well, if you were having symptoms, a doctor would probably consider treatment. And there are a couple of ways to go about it. One option would be antibiotics, like metronidazole or tinidazole. Those can be pretty effective in getting rid of the parasite.
Antibiotics, huh?
Yeah.
So is it kind of like treating a bacterial infection?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, we're using medication to target a specific microbe, but it's important to remember that parasites and bacteria, they're different. So it's not just any antibiotic that will work. You got to pick the right tool for the job.
Right, like having a whole toolbox full of microbe-fighting weapons. But wouldn't antibiotics also wipe out the good bacteria in Hilario's gut? Isn't that, like, a bad thing?
That's a really good point, and it's something that doctors definitely think about when they're prescribing antibiotics. The goal is to target bad guys, minimize the damage to the good guys. It's a bit of a balancing act.
Gotcha. So there's the antibiotic route. Are there any other ways to deal with this parasite?
Oh yeah, there are. Antiparasitic medications are another possibility. These meds specifically target parasites, and a doctor would choose the best one based on Hilario's specific situation.
Okay, so there are choices. But what about people who have the parasite but don't have any symptoms? Do they need to worry about it at all?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, and honestly, it's one that researchers are still trying to figure out. It's not as simple as saying parasite equals bad. There's actually been some research suggesting that Blastocystis hominis might actually be beneficial in some people.
Oh, hold on. Beneficial. How could a parasite be good for you?
Well, think about it this way. Our gut is home to trillions of microbes, good and bad. It's like a big, bustling city, right?
Right.
With all kinds of different populations. And just like in any city, keeping things in order requires a certain balance of power.
Okay, I'm following you. So where does this parasite fit into all of that?
Well, some studies have shown that Blastocystis hominis might actually help regulate the gut microbiome, contribute to a healthy balance of all those microbes. It's like having a slightly unpredictable neighbor who also happens to keep the street clean.
So it's like this parasite is playing both sides, sometimes causing trouble, sometimes helping out.
Exactly. It's not always a clear-cut good guy, bad guy situation when it comes to microbes. And that's what makes all this research so fascinating. We're still learning about all the complexities of these relationships.
I gotta say, this is making my head spin a little. In a good way, though. So what does all this mean for Hilario?
Well, without knowing more about his symptoms, his overall health, it's tough to say for sure whether this parasite is a friend or foe in his particular case, but I think this deep dive is definitely highlighting how important gut health is.
You know what? You're right. I'm
Yeah.
suddenly a lot more interested in what's going on in my own gut.
See, that's the beauty of it. The more we learn about these hidden worlds inside us, the more we realize just how much there is to discover.
Well, on that note, let's move on to the final part of our deep dive. I'm really curious to hear about the latest research on Blastocystis hominis and this whole gut health thing. Okay, so we've talked about Hilario's urinalysis, we've dug into this whole Blastocystis hominis thing, and we're even starting to get a handle on this whole gut health concept. But there's got to be more to this story, right? Like, what's the latest scoop on this parasite? Any big breakthroughs in, I don't know, parasite research or anything?
Oh, there's tons of research going on. Scientists are starting to realize that Blastocystis hominis, well, it's not just one thing. It's actually incredibly diverse. It's got all these different subtypes. Kind of like, think of it like different strains of a virus.
Wait, so it's not just Blastocystis hominis. It's like Blastocystis hominis, version 1, version 2, and so on. That's crazy. Why does that even matter?
Well, it's a big deal because each subtype, it might have its own unique characteristics. And that could affect how it interacts with its host. Like, imagine some subtypes are totally harmless, right? Just chilling in the gut, minding their own business. While others, they might be more likely to cause problems.
Okay, so Hilario could have a subtype that's totally peaceful, but someone else could have one that's, causing all sorts of digestive issues. So can researchers tell which subtype is which?
Yep, that's exactly what they're working on figuring out. Being able to identify these subtypes could lead to much more personalized treatments, targeting specific strains of the parasite. It's like personalized medicine, but for the microscopic world.
Wow. It's amazing how we're getting to that level of detail with these tiny little creatures. But, this whole conversation keeps coming back to this gut health thing. And I'm still not 100% sure what that even means. Can you break it down for me? Like, explain it to me like I'm 5?
Sure. Think of your gut like a big city, right? Teeming with trillions of these tiny residents. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, the whole gang. And we call this community the gut microbiome. And just like in any city, for everything to run smoothly, you got to have balance.
Trillions of residents. That's more than all the people on Earth. So what are these microscopic citizens up to down there? Just hanging out.
Oh, they're not just hanging out. They're busy. They're working hard, helping us digest food, absorb nutrients, even training our immune system. They can even affect our mood and behavior. They're like this invisible workforce, keeping our bodies running properly.
Wow. Like little tiny superheroes working behind the scenes. But you said it's all about balance, right? So what happens when things get out of whack?
That's when you can run into problems. When there's an imbalance in the gut microbiome, it's called dysbiosis. And it's been linked to, well, a whole host of health issues. Digestive problems, allergies, autoimmune diseases, even mental health conditions like anxiety and depression.
So taking care of your gut, it's not just about avoiding a stomachache. It's about keeping this whole, like, intricate ecosystem in harmony.
Mhm.
So how do we do that? Any tips for a healthy gut?
One of the best things you can do is feed your gut buddies the good stuff. A diet that's high in fiber, from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. That's like a feast for the good bacteria, Helps them thrive.
Load up on those plants. Got it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah. Fermented foods are great too, like yogurt, kimchi, sauerkraut. They've got probiotics, which are live beneficial bacteria, and those can help replenish and diversify the gut microbiome.
So eating for a healthy gut, it actually sounds pretty delicious.
Yeah.
What about lifestyle stuff? Does that play a role too?
Big time. Managing stress is huge because chronic stress can really mess with your gut microbiome. Getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, even spending time in nature, all that can have a positive impact.
It's like it's all connected, right? Taking care of your gut, it's this whole mind-body thing. Your diet, your lifestyle, your mental well-being.
Exactly. And here's the thing to remember. Every gut is unique, just like your fingerprint. What works for one person might not work for another. So it's really about listening to your body, paying attention to how different foods make you feel. You got to find what works best for you.
Wow, this deep dive, it's been quite a journey. Started with a simple urinalysis, and we ended up exploring the world of parasites, all these microbes, this whole gut microbiome thing. Amazing.
It really is. And just think, we learned all this from just 2 medical reports. It shows you the power of curiosity, and the possibilities of scientific exploration. There's always something new to discover.
It makes you wonder what other mysteries are hiding in our bodies, right? Well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this microscopic adventure. And hey, next time you think about your gut, remember all those trillions of little residents down there working hard to keep you healthy.